Welcome back to another episode of Pushing Back Chaos with me, Paul Melon McFadden. I hope you guys are all well out there. There has been a lot going on with young Michael and myself, and we're going to cover a lot of that in this episode. But thanks so much for stopping by, joining in, and giving us your precious time. Mike, how are you, mate?
Melon, what's up, stranger? Dude, it's so nice to catch up with you. And
It's
yeah,
been a minute.
it's been a minute. It's almost been what, 3 or 4 weeks now that we haven't released something. But man, there's been so much going on in our lives. And Melon and I haven't talked as much as we'd like at all. It's just been full focus on both ends and dealing with a lot, but lots of good stuff to report. And you know,
Let's just. I think the summary could be that we've both been pushing back chaos.
yeah, pushing back chaos, and man, it's been a period of growth and learning for sure. And we want to share some of it with you. I mean, so we're on here like spitting our suck every week and talking about good ideas and theory or experiences, but like this is the stuff, and we want you to know like who me and Melon are genuinely, and like things that we go through, things that we experience, like where do these guys get this stuff? Where do these topics come from, and who do they meet? And this is really just how it happens. So some of the stuff we're going to share with you in this episode is happening, but it's really leading to a bunch of future episodes. And I was just telling Melon offline about some of it, and it's really exciting. So yeah, it's nice to be back, dude.
No, it's good to hear your voice, Mike.
I know.
No joke.
I know.
So, well, maybe I can kick off. I'm recording this in Melbourne, in Victoria is the state in Australia, and I'm back here visiting with the family, and I've got one final trip back to Saudi just to close up shop over there before being back here permanently. It's been amazing. It's been great to be here on vacation, having downtime, getting involved, and watching my son Michael compete in sporting events. It was the tail end of summer when I got here, and Michael has been rowing for his school, which is my old school. So watching him, I think there's only one way to describe rowing, which is holding your hand in the fire, and that's who can hold your hand in the fire the longest. That's a tough sport, and if you're not sure how tough it is, go and get on a rower in your local gym and just do 1,000 meters and see what your time is. And it's gag fest. It's like a sprint weight workout. I'm sure I don't have to explain that to a man like you, Mike, but probably plenty of the listeners have probably done it as well. It's a very difficult sport, and sort of helping mentor and coach him through a bit of resistance to some super early starts and late finishes, which are associated with that sport. And his mum was asking, if he was enjoying it, and I was sort of like, it's a strange question. You don't ask that question about rowing. I just said to him, buddy, the season will be finished and you'll start rugby season the fittest you've ever been. And that's the best way to look at it. So, yeah, being home and able to attend sporting stuff and watch him in, the same uniform I used to compete in, it's just been a wonderful thing. And having time with Annie as we're sort of finding our way and negotiating our way through all the different, honestly, it's a lot of bureaucracy. It's sort of like a screen, and on the other side of the bureaucracy is all the support that we are hoping to get for her back here.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to negotiate, and it's very difficult to come in from having lived away for a long time. And the whole system has changed. There's whole new government departments that didn't exist when we left Australia back in 2010. So, I mean, that's really what Cherry has just devoted her time and energy to. So there's a lot of that underway. That's both kid and we're just on the tail end of the school like Easter vacation here. So the kids all get 2 weeks. So it's been really nice to just be with the family in the house and get up late. And we also got a new dog,
I saw him. And what's his name?
Yeah.
What's his name?
His name is Quincy. Quincy is a little mini schnauzer with he's going to have the moustache and droopy eyebrows, the Germans. And so Cherry said to the kids that when they were talking about names, she's like, no, it has to be like an old white guy, like an old German man. is the names, and she suggested Winchester, and Michael immediately went with Quincy for some reason. And I was like, John Quincy Adams, the US president with the massive sideburns, is where my brain went immediately. And so it's hilarious, this tiny little puppy running around with a formal name like that. And it's literally just been like a time to recharge the batteries and spend time with the people I love the most. Mike, it's been great time with mum, time with some old friends. We had friends visit from interstate for Easter, and we also had a friend flying from LA we haven't seen since before COVID for Easter. It's just been busy, super busy, a lot of stuff happening, but just the word that comes to mind is just gratitude. And I've just really been experiencing that, like in a bit of a flow of just how grateful I am to be in a position now where I'm looking at being able to live back here permanently in the near future and take up a new role with a new business. And yeah, a lot of good stuff, a lot of things that I've, we're sort of over the next hill for such a long time. And it's amazing to be sort of really coming close to that crest now and seeing what life is going to be like back here. It's not going to be without challenge. It's not like, I don't think it can be common, I think, in military people, that whole, once I retire, like I'll be on the front porch in the rocking chair with a shotgun or whatever. It's never going to happen.
Whoa, dude. Whoa.
It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. There's always going to be challenges, and I look forward to, I'm seeing what they will be. Putting food on the table and gathering resources is going to be an ongoing challenge. It's the same for all of us.
Yeah.
But it's going to be great to be here, living here. So that's what's been happening for me.
Dude, I just looking at you, I mean, you didn't get any prettier. So that's not that's not changed. But the smile is very big, man.
Yeah.
And it makes me so happy to see you happy. And you're talking about being home, and you sent me some pictures the last couple of weeks and visiting, especially with Mama McFadden. So
yes.
Shout out to her. I know she's happy to see her son and all of her grandbabies and everybody. So yeah, dude, it makes me happy to see you home, and it's where you belong. And I can't wait till you can move back there permanently and, start the next chapter and get everything moving. So, but what you said is gratitude. I'm in the same boat.
Good, man.
I've been, the last month, man, has been just full of straight up gratitude for literally everything in my life. It's been a period of being still in a lot of moments. I know we've talked about that, and it's not just being physically still, but having time to, be still in the moment and really take things in, be present, really realize what's taking place, that it's not just about me. We talked about the ripple effect before, and like, I'm seeing a lot of return over the past month, just of things from, putting in the effort and time, even when I'm struggling with other people. And it all really came together, man. So about 2 weeks ago, I went home to Pittsburgh, and I had a going away party, and I was expecting maybe about 100 people for the night, and probably about 150 people showed up from every circle and aspect of my entire life, from my childhood to my best friends, to my family, to there was a guy that showed up there, a friend of me and Raf. I was in Afghanistan with 12 years ago. I haven't seen him since, and he drove all the way out there just to him and his wife, and he just drove out. He's like, dude, I wanted to be a part of this. Like, I'll never forget our deployment together and what we did. And I turned around, I was like, Alan, are you kidding me? There he is.
Wow, man.
Big belt buckle and cowboy hat. And dude, I mean, I was blown away. Some of our former guests were Wayne Minix that we had on the show was there. My old teacher, Mr. Huzar, was there.
Mr. Huzar.
Yeah, I mean, you name it, man. Everybody was there, and it was so awesome to see them all start blending together. And I was so busy all night talking to everybody. It was 4 hours. I didn't sit down one time. I didn't even really eat. If it wouldn't have been for my mom, she literally made me a plate and tucked it over behind a thing. It was like, come here real quick. stand behind it over at this door and eat, you know.
That doesn't sound like a mum.
Oh no, she's I'll never not be her baby, no matter how old
Yeah.
I am. Like she doesn't care, right?
Right.
But
Nurturing logistics. I mean, this is mum's, right?
yeah, yeah. It just, dude, I was blown away. I was absolutely blown away by, I'm sitting there going, it, everything that I've been doing in my life, is it the right things? And like I said, I saw the return because every single person that came was there for me because at one point in time I was there for them. And
Mm,
all the conversations that we had were around those things of like being genuine, putting in effort when nobody else does, or when you're tired or when you're struggling, making the extra little, you know, the extra phone call to make sure you're okay or to share something and be vulnerable. I was just blown away. And what capped off that weekend, and I want to share it on here, is something. It's very important to me, man. The next morning after the party, we got up and it was cold, and it was cold up there in northern Pennsylvania. It was 25 degrees Fahrenheit out, and we went to a church where our friend BJ Finney, former Steeler, his mentor is the chaplain for the Steelers, and we went to his church where he does these. But I was rebaptized the next morning, and I know you can only be baptized once under it, but I was a baby. I don't remember it. I'm sorry, and I didn't really understand it. But it was a big point in my life where there was a story about, well, our story if you've been listening to us for 4 years. Uh, there's a story in the Bible about this guy named Paul, and he does life his own way. And I'm summing this up really quick, but he does life his own way, uh, how he wants it and how he always does it. And he just keeps finding failure, and he's exhausted, and not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally. He's tired of losing. He's
mm,
tired of failing. He's tired of all these things. And he gets to a point in his life where eventually he goes blind, and he falls to his knees and he looks up and he says, God, I'm done. I'm done. Like with everything in your being, I'm done. And God appeared before him and said, good, good. Now we can begin. And that story resonated in me so much, Melon.
mm,
I broke down in tears because I was like, that's me. All the things that we've talked about over the last 4 years, I've literally been broken in every aspect, and most recently physically with my knee and blowing my leg out. And I was exhausted, man. Just as a person, as a man, I was
mm,
exhausted, and I was just so tired of trying to keep that up, and I just couldn't anymore. And my commitment was public, and my mom was there, my aunt, my uncle, my cousins. Tony Sr. came, like I told you, he's like my second father. He showed up. He wouldn't have missed it. Um, and it was just a beautiful morning. It was a little peninsula. There was a wooden cross down at the end, and there was a creek about 3 to 4 feet deep. And the water was 33 degrees. It was cold. It was very cold, but it was moving, so it wasn't frozen. But yeah, dude, BJ got in there. BJ's the one that dunked me, and
yeah.
we were freezing cold until it was right about to dunk me, man. And it was so powerful. It was so awesome to be in that moment with my family and with him. And um, it was one of the best moments of my life, Melon. And I love talking about it. I've shared it so much with people. And again, the ripple effect has been amazing. Um, some great things been
Mm,
happening. I go to church on Sundays. Monday morning, I joined a small men's group that I go to. It's voluntary, and focusing on becoming better men. Uh, Tender Warrior was referenced, and we used that for 4 weeks about the four faces of manhood: the leader, the warrior, the mentor, and the friend. And literally,
mm,
we had long conversations about that. So it was like I was totally prepared since we've talked and covered that so much.
Yeah.
Um, and it's been working out so well that yesterday I received a message from the pastor and he asked me to lead our small men's group, which I did for the first time this morning. And I was honored. I was kind of blown away because I've never led a spiritual led meeting with that type of group of men in that setting. And I absolutely loved it. I love the conversations, the openness, the brotherhood that's taking place, the honesty, being genuine with one another and talking about real stuff. It's
Mm.
literally an extension, Melon, of like what me, you, and Raph have when we sit and have these
Mm.
conversations. And it's so nice to sit there and like know that there's other men that are really trying to do their best. I'm also the youngest in the group. Um, but I think I also weirdly have a lot more experience than my peers do.
Right.
And it's really unique to bring that to the table for them.
Mm.
So, yeah, man, just a crazy ripple effect going on. And currently, last part of it, I know it's been a lot, but there's a guy I met. I shared my testimony, and he saw it. And it's this guy. His name's Johnny Savage. He's a former captain with a fishing boat down in Florida. And long story short, 20 years ago, he was out in the Gulf Stream. His boat capsized. He was lost at sea for days, and he was floating out there with, I believe, his first mate, and they were just waiting to die. And his amazing story of like how he was recovered, the what took place out on the water, the discussions he had with himself, with his buddy, with God, just everything, man, is so humbling. And to be around him, I met him yesterday for 2 hours, and it was one of the best
Wow.
conversations I've had in a long time. And I asked him, and he would love to be on as a future guest. I mean, this guy,
Wow.
man, gives me goosebumps being around him, and the way he speaks is beautiful. We're definitely going to learn some stuff.
Wow,
So
man. It's
that's
a ma-
4 weeks wrapped up in my little section.
Yeah.
And but gratefulness, yes, and gratitude,
Yeah.
yes. Humbled. I'm extremely humbled by who I've been surrounded by. And I just feel so uh enlightened by the wisdom of some of the people I've had the privilege to be around and have relationships with and speak about. Uh, man, it just feels like I hit the nitro boost in life the last couple of days, and I haven't felt this way in a long time.
Wow. It's amazing to me people who've had those kinds of experience, Mike, that real. I mean, I can only imagine. I can't even imagine, really, to be honest, what it'd be like to be lost at sea for a number of days. You'd like to think that you'd be able to find some kind of inner strength, but after a day or two, man, after 24 hours, I mean, I reckon a lot of people would find it very hard to hold on with grit and perseverance past a couple of hours, really, thinking that you're out there all alone and the search has missed you. I know that that's quite a complex story from Captain Johnny Savage, but that is a 3 day ordeal, multiple day ordeal that is really going to transform someone. And I know we've talked about his story previously, and I just can't believe that we're going to have the opportunity to talk to him one-on-one. That's an amazing opportunity, so I'll have to stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
Gratitude has really been at the forefront of my mind, and a quote that I came across has really sort of been doing the rounds for me mentally, and it's a bit of one. It's from a woman who was a young, had a very troubled childhood. Her name was Beattie. She was an alcoholic and drug addict when she was in her teens, and she turned her life around. She's now 75, and she's a very well regarded person who led a lot of the research and explanation about codependency and independence and
Yeah.
interdependence and the distinction there. And the quote from her that I just wanted to share, it's a little bit, so just bear with me here, but it is: gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It turns what we have into enough and more. It turns denial into acceptance, chaos to order, confusion to clarity. It can turn a meal into a feast, a house into a home, a stranger into a friend. Gratitude makes sense of our past, brings peace for today, and creates a vision for tomorrow. And that's by Beattie. So that's something I've thought about a lot recently, and there's some echoes, Mike, about some of the stuff you've been talking about with your men's group and Bible studies and stuff. Paul has a passage in one of his letters. He talks about the distinction between having enough and being in need, and how he's learned the secret of being content in any situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. And those two quotes about gratitude are just quite powerful. And I must say, I really love the Beattie one, because it included the phrase turning chaos into order, which I feel is very close to what we're trying to do here, what our overall mission is.
Yeah.
But it's a powerful thing. And if you can manifest it in hard times, and I've certainly been dealing with a lot of stress around closing down and ending, having the family travel back to Australia Christmas, and being in Saudi on my own, and having a lot of hard times and hardship trying to build a house in Brisbane. And there's just been a lot going on, really a lot going on. And I've had these moments of meditation and thought, and I feel like there's a superpower that comes to us when we're going through these times of suffering, like these really hard times. If we're able to maintain our integrity first, you have to maintain your integrity. Mm-hmm. But if you can also manifest gratitude, these two things at the same time, if you can maintain your integrity, manifest gratitude in times of what feels like extreme suffering, much higher than your normal levels of suffering, I feel like we access a superpower. And I have just had people coming out of the woodwork helping me and providing assistance. And I've found periods of hyper productivity and focus in these times. And I don't think it's sustainable for the long term, but it has certainly helped me get through, like in a real surge, these last couple of months. And like you're saying, it's been 4 weeks since we spoke, but these have been the two things I've really been thinking about this maintaining integrity and gratitude. So being your word with people, delivering on the things that you've committed to, or letting people know as soon as possible that when you can't do that, and making up for it when you've failed to deliver, which is my definition of integrity, like self as word. And that gratitude that you've very eloquently described, and what you've been talking about, that you can find all of a sudden the thing that you had, that you're like, I don't know that I've got enough here. All of a sudden it feels like you've got more than enough.
Yeah.
Turning that scarcity into abundance. Like it's a crazy thing, but it is a real thing that occurs when you can find the gratitude in those hard times. So these have been things that have really been going around my mind in the last couple of weeks, Mike. And it feels like once again, you and I have been on parallel tracks on the other side of the world from each other.
Yeah, different ages, different sides of the world, different situations, and somehow still on the same track.
Different hat sizes.
Yeah, different hat sizes for sure. But yeah, it's and the reason, Melon nailed it. And the reason we're talking about this is because if you're listening, probably some of this has resonated with you, because I think we're all on the same track. We're just hitting the different spots at different times. And when we can learn from each other and see good examples from each other, man, it always comes in the question, Melon, like, am I doing good? Am I being a good guy? Am I doing the right things? Like, I really feel like I'm trying, but I'm still hitting the wall. Like I said, man, somebody pulled me aside after the party. We went out for a couple drinks afterwards, with a select group of people, and, just like a little bit of intimate time, and, be quiet and just discuss kind of like what happened. And somebody shared with me, they said, do you realize what happened tonight? And I said, depends on what you're saying, like anything could happen. And they said, you have a lot of people that care for you. You have a lot of people that love you. And the conversations I had with them tonight about you were some of the most beautiful things I've heard. And it's all because of who you've been in their life. And that didn't hit me until they said that to me, because I don't think that way. You know, like I think a lot of like, I have to keep my head to the grindstone. I need to keep working. This isn't good enough. I can do better. I can be better. I can always keep pushing. Yeah, I'm uncomfortable, but I'll make the extra effort. I'll make the phone call. I'll let the person know I'm thinking about them, you know, and then sometimes I don't get it back immediately. But dude, just in this moment and this weekend, it was like I said, I saw the fruits of the seeds I've sown a while ago. And it was just such a good feeling, Melon. And I guess the point of it is, you know, we all get tired. We all get frustrated. We all are trying our best with what we have. And I really, truly believe in what Melon said. As long as you always stay yourself and be genuine, and don't lose that, people will know you, like truly know you, and you can be vulnerable. A lot
Yes.
of those things truly know you. Be a man of your word, stick to your word, and do what you're going to say. I mean, it will come out. It will be seen and noticed by a lot of people, because unfortunately, man, we live in a world, in a society now where that is very rare. It is not common to have that. Not saying we're special by any means.
No.
We're
No, and there's failures. There's failures along the way
all
as
the
well.
time, all the
Yeah.
time. It's whether you make the choice to learn from those failures, because the failure is the lesson. That's what people think. Sometimes I used to think it was a punishment, but the failure is the lesson, and you need to learn it and you need to apply it. And the apply part is what scares most people. It's great in theory. It's great conversation. It's great if you're listening to this going, wow, man, this is all really good stuff. But if you're done and you turn off your phone, you get out of your car and you go into work or you go wherever you do and you just start dropping bombs in the other direction, it don't mean anything. And that's the hardest part, especially for men. And when we're talking about being genuine, opening up, not wearing a mask,
Yeah, 100%.
you know, women have it too. It's just different. But
Look, I think that there's a thing in there, Mike, where the breakdowns are going to occur. There's going to
yes,
be breakdowns in integrity, and the breakdowns get bigger the moment you start playing a bigger game. Like if you're really putting yourself out there as a person of integrity, every little thing is going to show up. Every little area where you've not manifested your best self, and you've every little letdown, it's an easy thing to sit on the couch eating donuts and watching football, and that's like, that's your whole weekend. When you're committing to help people and be there and so on, like there's going to be stuff. You're playing a bigger game. You're taking on a big challenge. Like I know your training and what you do in your professional life, massive challenges. So there's going to be things that are going to show up, because there's going to be, you're striving for something like an Olympian training for, to compete. You're not always going to hit the height that you're aiming for. And if you're aiming low, it's an easy game. So the breakdowns are not going to be as big. But I think the point is that, like we do in our military operations and military lives, you got to debrief the breakdowns. You've got to sit with the person who was impacted by the breakdown and really go through it. And that takes a level of, I've been using the term radical transparency, that you've got to be willing to really talk through these things and get to the bottom of it and be like, what actually happened? What was the other person's experience? Where was the breakdown? What did you, the person listening, do? Not what the other person did. It's all internalizing all of the failures, and really like finding the lesson, because there's going to be some massive lesson if the breakdown is big. And if you're willing to just go through the breakdown and just carry on in your life, all you're going to get is the negative. You're only going to get the suffering and the frustration and the disappointment and the hurt and everything else. But if you are willing to stop and pause there for a while and find the lesson, you can get you can get a massive benefit. You can get a breakthrough on the other side of the breakdown.
Yes.
But it's not normal, and it's not comfortable. People, everyone's the same. No one wants to take responsibility in those moments of difficulty. The last thing you want to do is, put your hand back in the fire and be like, I'm the one who caused this, and let's talk about it.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to do that, you can actually get a benefit out of these breakdowns. But it takes something different. And I think you've hit the nail on the head that this is something that men are not as good at, because we're like, got a facade to maintain, a bit of bravado, and we're not perhaps as good as talking about stuff. But we need to do it. And the buck stops with us. The buck stops with the person listening. The buck stops with you.
There was a coach, I follow him, his name's Coach Lyle, and he posted a thing. It was very fitting to this. He said, most people don't want to be part of the process, but they just want to be part of the outcome.
Yeah.
But the process is where you figure out who's worth being part of the outcome. Right? Who's around you, who's there, and now we're talking about real friends. We're talking about real teammates. We're talking about real family. And a lot of different things, exactly in both of our situations, people reaching out to you, helping you move and getting set up and do all this. Same with me, of like showing up for me before I leave and do whatever, man. It's just like, there's a reason those people are around. There's a reason those people want to be around you and why they're helping you. And it's not superficial. It's not fake. It's you probably can look at every person that's done that and you're like, we've been through something very hard,
Yes.
very challenging, whatever it is, where we spend a night crying to each other, or just at a complete loss, and we're trying to figure out things. Those are real people. So yeah, it's embracing it. And I think Raph mentioned it a long time ago, but what is it? A failure isn't the antithesis of success. It's part of it.
Yeah,
I think
I love that
that's
one. I love the one that they give to Churchill as well. I don't know whether it's really from him, but success is going from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm.
Yes. Yeah.
And it sounds like a funny word to finish on, but it is actually true, because the success is just getting up one more time and you fall over, right? And if you lose the enthusiasm, you're not going to continue. You're not going to go ahead and have another go at that conversation with the wife. You're not going to go back to the gym after the injury. You're not going to have another venture with your finances following a failure. And it guarantees the failure. It guarantees that last failure is the state, and that's the state that you're going to continue in. And if you can have the no loss of enthusiasm, you'll go again, and that one more time, as every story we ever look into, and we've talked about a lot of them on the podcast over the years, Mike, that failure is an inevitable part, and there's the growth and learning that has to happen to equip you with the tools and the capacity to have the ultimate success. And they're never going to, none of us have them when we're 15, 16, 18.
Right.
That there's a process you go through in life of learning the hard lessons that really count and stay with you. They're the things that can give you that sustained success.
Yeah.
But you have to have the enthusiasm and the willingness to get up again.
So, Melon, let me ask you a question. Do you think it would sound, after talking what we're talking about here, and for the listeners, right? It's always easy, but what if you were to wake up tomorrow and said, I wonder what I can fail today? Would that change your mindset? It
is funny, right? Like, I don't think anyone sets out to fail. I've heard this term. I've heard this a lot, like in the Silicon Valley startup sense, they talk about fast failure. And I understand it as a mentality of, wanting to find the point in your argument or the thesis or the training program or whatever it is, where you try to find the thing you need to improve. But that's a difficult mentality that I don't think I've ever started the day with that thought, Mike.
No, neither have I, but it goes along with what we're talking about, is like, well, if you want to start anything, you're probably going to fail at it. Right. So having just an understanding that, look, this is part of it. This is going to happen. And instead of acting like failure doesn't exist, in all aspects of life, whether it's, your finances, whether it's a relationship, whether, whatever, you should be like preparing for it and accepting that that it may show up. but looking at who you're going to be when it does come, and you're preparing for it already, because it is a possibility, right? It may be low. It may, like they have all these funny things of like, no one's ever been killed by a frog, but the chances are never zero. And it's like, oh yeah. And then you start thinking of the wildest ways a frog could kill you, but it's really interesting, man. There was a story I shared this morning with my men's group. And we talk about, why are we doing this? Like, why are we putting in all this effort as men to be good men, but also for our families, our friends, and the people around us. So back in back in the days of the Bible, it was like you have that hot, arid desert, okay, and it's very rough. I mean, Melon can tell you all about the desert, but very rough, coarse sand. It's not comfortable. It's very hot, baked, whatever. But in the wadis, there's occasionally flash floods, and it washes through the wadi. And afterwards, it produces a very fine sand that's moisture. It's soft. It's very soft. And a lot of people back in those days would go down into the wadi. They'd lay in the soft sand. They'd eat down there. They'd sleep down there because it felt good. It was comfortable and everything was nice. The only problem with it is the flash floods. They come out of nowhere. And just by rule, cool fact that I learned, if you're in a wadi and you hear a roar, you have 10 seconds to get out of the wadi because that's how fast it's going to hit. Right. So I was like, oh, I didn't know that. So one of the things in scripture says that God instructed his people to build their foundations on the rock and not the soft sand, as tempting as it may be. And the whole point of it is that flash flood, that thing that you're scared of, that failure is ultimately coming, whether you want it to or not. And you may not know when. It may just, it's a flash flood for a reason. It's coming and it's coming fast. And when it hits you, do you want to be, the fat, dumb, and happy, comfortable guy laying in the wadi on the soft sand? Or do you want to build your foundation up on the rock like you were instructed to, and have a solid foundation that's not going to wash away? And it's not just a physical house that we're talking about. It's talking about principles. It's talking about your values, what you stand on, your relationships, your family, your friends, like how tight you are. Like, is a death in the family going to rip this family apart? Is a terrible accident that we can't foresee going to destroy us? Is a dispute or argument going to ruin our marriage? Go down the list.
Because there has to be flaws in your thinking, like if you are in the state of mind where you think you know it all, then we all know that hubris moment of, the failure is just right around the corner. And all of us are flawed. All of us, none of us have everything figured out perfectly, Mike. So the failure is going to occur at some point, and we should know that there's going to be elements of whatever we think in whatever area. It could be a fitness plan. It could be a training program for people at work. It could be in a marriage, as you were saying earlier. There's going to be flaws in your thinking, and when you encounter them, we should be doing everything we can to get past those flawed ways of thinking and into the beliefs and into the more true understanding of how things are going to work there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a quote by Bill Gates about success is a lousy teacher because it seduces smart people into thinking they can't lose.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
Like failure is. I said this to my son when he had his rowing final, and they won their heat. Him and his crew, and his first. It was only like 6 or 7 weeks of rowing that he had, and he started in the 10th crew and he finished in the 4th crew, and that's pretty rapid promotion, almost moving up a crew every week. From someone with no, he'd never rowed a boat before. He'd never seen a river with water in it, where we live. So it was a lot of learning for him, and they came first in their heat. So they were like the fastest qualifiers, and they sort of went into the final effectively as favourites. And they didn't win. They came last, and their final came 6th. There were still 6 crews in the final, in the B final that they'd all beaten. He was devastated. He was quite upset, and I just said that to him. Success is a lousy teacher, and there's an opportunity to learn something from this that you wouldn't have if you have immediate success off the bat. And it's the lessons that we take out of sport and other things that we love. It's like a non-fatal opportunity to learn some big truths about life that you can then hopefully apply for the rest of life. But there's going to be flaws in what you're doing, and you're not enough. You need to be better than you were. That whole not your average operator. Don't wish it was easier, wish you were better.
Yep.
That quote we used to have. That is true. And how are you going to get better if you think you're good, or if you think you're good enough now? There's no drive to improve.
Yeah. Yeah. It's falling into that false narrative that you've arrived. That and it's like, man, I'm really somebody.
It's dangerous.
Yeah, it's very
dangerous thought, man. It's a dangerous thought.
Yeah. I'm not a big basketball guy by any means, but I have seen some stuff on Kobe Bryant, who passed away. And after he received like huge awards for, like player of the year and all this other stuff and winning the championships. Then he would leave and then go right back to the practice court and practice the basics. And he's like, I'm never too good for the basics. I'm never too good. Like, I should be here. This is my standard of how I should be. And he wanted to inspire other people. He never arrived. And everybody, that talks about him, his other teammates, players in the league, his family, his friends, they all say the same thing about him: is he never let that get too big. He never let that define who he was. He let himself define everything that he did, not just in basketball, but with life. And, why can't I do that? I can do that. I can get up and humble myself. I can get up and do a little bit extra. I'm not too good for the basics. I'm not too good to go back to the drawing board and be like, man, I thought I had this being a good man thing squared away. How can I possibly be wrong? Well, man, put me in a room with somebody and shoot some holes through me. Not literally, but I want to go back to learning, and ultimately that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing for the last few months, and it's all coming to fruition the last few weeks.
Like how much of a barrier, Mike, is pride versus humility in all these opportunities to learn? Like there's never very hard to maintain gratitude.
Yes.
When you're in a prideful state, to maintain integrity when you're in a state of pride, and to be able to debrief the breakdown and find a lesson.
Yes.
When you're in a prideful state, it's never going to happen. It's all that it'll be an external cause of the failure. Therefore, there will never be any. You'll cease improving immediately when you hit a state of pride.
Yes.
There's no opportunity for future growth.
Yeah, I would say the best thing I've really trained myself to do is to recognize when the pride and the ego wants to speak.
Yeah.
And I can stop and go, I know what that is. And I go, nope, I'm not letting that out, because that's not who I want to be. Take a deep breath, pause. All right, let me reword this. Let me come at it from a different way. That's better. That's very hard at times. And man, I'll be honest. And these guys do it in the men's group that I'm in. I'm the youngest guy, like I said. So some of these guys are, 10, 20, 25 years older than me. And they're sitting in there, and we did this thing on talking about the seasons, like the seasons of life. And, I'm still in summer. They say like, from when you're born to 24 is your springtime, 24 to 39 is your summertime, 40 to 65 is your fall, and then 65 plus you're like in the winter stage. And they break it down, whatever. And my one buddy, Scott, he's a fireman. He's a fireman for 20 years. So he's an alpha bro. He's all he goes, man, I read that last night. Dude, that's kind of bullshit. And we all start laughing. And we're like, why, Scott? He goes, I go to the gym every day. He's like, I'm still in my prime, and he's like putting his arms up and do like, Hulk Hogan. We're all laughing. But then he pauses and he goes, but yeah, I guess you're right. That's my pride and ego right there. And then he corrected himself after all the stuff that we're reading and talking about. he recognized he's like, that's my pride and ego coming out, and
Yeah.
not accepting where I should be and the things I should be doing. He's like, I'm a new grandfather.
Wow.
I'm grandpa now. Like, I should be focusing on other things instead of just, look at me, I'm still in my prime. I'm never,
Wow.
and it was so
There's some
cool.
wisdom. That's some
Yeah.
wisdom you're talking about right there, Mike.
Yeah. Self-diagnosed himself as soon as he said it and recognized it. And he goes, oh man, I see what I just did there. And we're all just sitting there in a group of us listening. And we're like, oh dude, that's pretty cool that you can do it. That's a superpower.
Yeah.
That's a
That
real
is
world
a superpower.
superpower, you know?
Man, that beginner mentality, I know you've talked about that in many other conversations that we've had, Mike, that maintaining that beginner mentality. And like you were talking about Kobe Bryant, they're going back to the basics immediately after the win or the loss or whatever it is. There's so many areas in life we can apply that. Like I know I've had moments of feeling like pride about my parenting, and it's like it's a dangerous and very like tempting thought to entertain. Like, I'm really good at this.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I feel pride in, and you're like, man, there is something I'm doing right now that is not helping. There's a way of being as a father that is better for the next challenge or whatever it is, the next thing that's coming up or the current situation. And if you can get back to that beginner mentality of like, there's an opportunity to learn here, and through the learning, I can manifest the new, the transformed paradigm, the way of relating that's better and more appropriate. I can listen better. That as soon as you have that mentality of there's an opportunity to learn here and I can do this better, it's like you can sort of drop your ego. It can just sneak up when you're not looking and take the steering wheel. And I know that we all have that in different times, and it is not a helpful. It's not a thing that's going to help you maintain the thing that you're proud of. If you're feeling pride about your physical fitness or your finances or any other thing, that pride is not going to help you maintain that.
Right.
It's trying to let that go and get back into a state of I'm a learner here. There's an opportunity to learn. There's a new way of being and an adaptation to the next thing that can have me do these things better again, that is going to have you lock in like a sustained success. And the mentality of I've got this figured out and feeling pride is a huge impediment to that. And it's a guarantee that you're going to derail at some point.
Yeah. No, it's guaranteed you'll derail. There's nothing I've ever done in my life where I've done it by myself. Anything
Yeah.
worth effort, anything worth sacrificing, I've never done on my own. There's always been somebody in my corner, something driving me, people help me along the way when I fall on my face, all those things. And I would be an idiot if I said otherwise. One of the things I always say to my guys at work, but I say it to anybody that when I have the opportunity, the pride and ego filled people, if you're so good, and you're the best and you got it all figured out, right? And you feel really good about it, great. Appreciate you. I love your passion and your talent that you offer. If you really want to feel prideful about something and feel good about yourself, teach somebody else to be as good as you, if not better. And tell me how good that feels when you see another person become as good or better than you and watch them become something great and successful or a good person. That is so much more fulfilling, dude. And I feel that is a huge shift in my life now, where whenever I feel really confident of like, man, I got this and I'm good to go, I think about immediately, how can I share this?
Yeah.
Who can I help? Like, how can I put this out into my circle or into the community of people that are struggling like I was? It's like I unlocked the room and the magic secret in there, but I walked in and I'm the only one, but I can hear people outside that are like, I need help. I need to do this.
Yeah.
You know,
And in a lot of situations, that's going to allow you to access a mentality that is going to cause you to manifest servant leadership. which we've referred to in previous episodes, and we've had some amazing guests on, some amazing military leaders on talking about leadership. And the people that I admire the most and that I really respect in that leadership space are the ones who they're not doing it, and they're not like, I've got the hands on the wheel and I'm across all the detail and I'm the one making this happen. They're the ones who are like causing their team to act as leaders. And then that's a super powerful team when every individual is taking responsibility and looking for opportunities and minimizing risk and putting in place steps to succeed and all of those things like that. There's a mentality and a power that can come to us in leadership roles when you've got this mentality of, like you're saying there, Mike, you're not taking it for yourself. You're not thinking about what's in it for me, or how am I going to cause this success. When you're in that, I want to cause other people success, there is massive, massive power and effectiveness in the world that flows from that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's, I mean, literally that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be leading, especially men. We're supposed to be leading in this environment and creating a environment in which we can share with each other, and foster a learning environment and teach each other. I mean, take away the technology, take away all modern society, whatever. We're a bunch of cavemen trying to survive in the wild. Like teach your family how to build a fire to survive. So we have that, teach them how to hunt. I mean, I'm not getting into like, hey, we're like basic, cavemen again and primitive, brainless alphas running around stabbing things. No, it's, there's just a lack of it. I feel, man, like anything that you do for work, everyone's so worried about the hustle and trying to make the money and trying to have the image and trying to have the lifestyle. We're not learning the other key parts of life and how we're supposed to have relationships with everybody in our life. Who are we showing up to be, right? It's like, no one's teaching me that. Like, I haven't got that for 30 plus years of my life until the last couple years, and especially the last 6 months where I've really seeked answers and like, what is my purpose and what am I really doing? Man, it's just, I was talking with Scott again this morning, and like he's been in the firehouse for 20 years, and he said, if I just teach my guys how to pull a hose and connect it to the line for 20 years, and all I teach you is connecting a fire hose and putting out a fire, I have failed as a man. I have failed as a leader. I have failed as a fireman. He's like, I should be also teaching you about life and admitting my failures, admitting where I came up short, admitting what I didn't do to better educate those around me, which is my team and which I depend on my life for.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you invest in that or your family? You know what I mean? Like, it makes so much sense when you hear it say that way.
Yeah, that's right, man.
It's what we should be doing.
I mean, it's Stu Weber's 4 pillars from 10 to Warrior, right?
Yes.
Warrior, friend, king. But then the 4th one is mentor.
Yes.
And in that mentor, it's a very specific word that has a lot of elements of teacher in it, that you are imparting wisdom and guidance and providing an example. It's probably one of the ways it's slightly different than being a teacher.
Yeah.
But it's focused on the person who's in that junior position in that relationship. And I mean, in none of those 4 parts is there a selfish inward focus. All 4 of them are outward focused on the community and the people around and what the role needs to be as you slide through those 4 different pillars.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, I mean, we're getting close to the position where we need to wind this one up. But gratitude, integrity, failure, debriefing the failure, and maintaining that humility and the learner's mentality. I just, it's so funny. Just for the listeners, there has been no pre-discussion about what we're going to talk about today. It was like there's just been a lot going on in our lives, and let's just get together and have a conversation. And we literally did not have time to get together and build notes or anything like that. This conversation is literally unfolded exactly as you've heard it. We would love to share these kinds of conversations with you. If you are interested in coming on and either suggesting a topic or you just want to come and have a conversation with us, we're very open to that. So please reach out on the socials. But on this topic here, Mike, of gratitude, integrity, and failure leading to fulfillment and success, do you have any further points you wanted to leave people with before we close?
I don't know, man. I just feel good. Every time we sit down and we talk about this stuff, especially not seeing your ugly mug for 4 weeks, and that,
Yeah,
like we've talked about, this is therapy for us. This
it's
is
therapy, man.
It launches me into the week,
It
feeling
does.
better prepared. I feel confident, and knowing that there's other guys out there like Melon, that are putting in the work and being good dudes. Just genuinely good dudes for everybody in their life, man. It makes me want to be better. Like he's depending on me, and I'm depending on him, and everybody else in that ripple effect. And it's a good feeling. It's purpose. It makes me want to wake up in the morning and get stronger in every aspect. Makes me put on an extra 25 pounds on the way, on the bar.
It's
It's the why
it's
that drives me.
Mike is, for everyone listening, Mike really is an accountability holder for me. Like I know I'm gonna have these conversations with him, and look, we're all human and we all have breakdowns, and we give into our vices and we're not our best at times. But I know I'm going to talk to him once a week, and it is really a great placeholder for me. It helps clear out the bios. The rats in the spinning wheel get to be quiet for at least 1 hour a week when I get together with Mike. And I just can't encourage you enough to try and set up an ongoing conversation like this in a men's group or a one-on-one or with important people in your life. It is something very special now. We're coming into our 4th year of having these conversations. Mike and I recorded episode 1 of Not Your Average Operator 4 years ago. And this has become a very important thing for me to have clarity and focus and the ability to get out into the world and to help me keep addressing my flaws as well. It's been a really important thing. So I just, create this for yourself if you don't have it. And, it's a genuine offer. Reach out to us with topic suggestions or with, let's connect and see who we can't have on as guests. We'd love to hear your insights into these elements.
Actually,
Mike, go ahead.
Last thing, brother, just popped into my mind. Like literally as you're talking, I'm sitting here listening about getting in a group. I would love some feedback. If you're listening to this, send us a message and let us know what you think. What if we started a small group on here where we met at certain times on Zoom, and we could host a group of people for like an hour. It'd be digital, but coming in and having conversations like this offline, and maybe starting our own group with people and discuss topics about pretty much all the episodes, but getting in a little deeper. Maybe doing some program, like a 2-3 week program with people that want to, hop on Zoom or whatever. But let us know your feedback. That just came to me, and I think it's a
we
really
need people
cool
with
opportunity.
flexible timeline management.
Yeah, we'll try to do it like on a weekend or something when people, it's
can
like
stay up late and get up early.
Yeah, it's 10:24 or 22:24 here on the East Coast, and where Melon's at right now, he's 13 hours ahead of me. So it's
12:24. It's actually daylight saving just ended the other day, so now 12:24.
All right, so he's 12 hours. So that's great.
So we're exactly hilarious.
Yeah, so that's a whole nother challenge for us, going from 7 hours to 12. So thanks, Melon.
Yeah, thanks. All right. So there you go. There's a challenge. Let's see if we get some interest and we can get some groups together to have live chats, live conversations. They don't have to be recorded. They don't have to go any further than just the people who attend. But anyway, thank you for sticking around. We really value your time. We love the opportunity to make a contribution in some small way. And, if you are getting value out of this, please subscribe, like, share, review, and see if we can't get this message out a bit wider. But until next week, take care of yourselves.